that man, Matt Morrow, Charlotte Football Insiders. We're here today doing something special that I've been wanting to do for a little while, and that's highlight really talented assistant coaches throughout the Charlotte metro region doing a great job, not only at the school, but, throughout different ventures. And today we're going to talk to Hough Huskies defensive coordinator, Chachi Sullivan. A lot of people, of course, know that name. He's done a great job over the years, not only, being a defensive coordinator, but training kids through his defensive back training business he does. And he's worked with a lot of talented players. And we're going to talk to him today and get to know him a little bit more and find out, what's behind all the success and maybe a little bit of the secret sauce that goes into what he does. So we're going to bring him on with us now. Coach, how you doing, man?
How's it going? Doing well.
Doing good, man. I've told you for a long time I've been wanting to shout you out, and you kind of dodged me, but I'm glad I cornered you. Got you on here to talk about all the great things you've been doing, man. So to kick this off, man, a lot of people know you obviously from Hough and the success you guys have had up there. How did you get started, being at Hough, coaching there and doing all the things that you've been doing?
All right. Well, this is not a plug for the Bank of America game one, but it started with I left South Carolina State as an assistant football coach, moved to Charlotte, started working in mental health, and I was pretty much done with coaching. The school at the time I didn't know was opening, which was Hough. And the first head coach of the high school was my college teammate. So our former head coach at South Carolina State, Buddy Pugh, reached out to him, said, well, Chachi's in the area. You probably want to get him to try to coach. And Bobby called me multiple times, and I wasn't interested. And if you know Bobby Collins, he's persuasive. So he convinced me to come out, maybe once or twice a week. And I remember going out and meeting Coach Bird at the first practice, and Bobby was handling the offense, and I was helping Coach Bird, Jamel Bird, who's now at Hough too. He was helping, and I was like, dude, you guys need a lot of help. So I've been there ever since. That was 2010.
It's funny what you said about Bobby. I work with Bobby in the Queen City Senior Bowl, and you're exactly right.
Yeah, he's definitely persuasive.
Absolutely. And you've been there a long time. Why have you stayed there and not left?
Creature of habit. I don't like change. Definitely some unfinished business. It never was my intention to coach high school football or coach football ever again, be honest with you.
Really?
No. I left it. I left 2007 to 2010. I did no football, nothing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what's kept you in it for so long?
I think what happens is every time you may have, first the universe happens, but every time you turn around, there's a young person who you feel like, I would have a little pushed this direction. They can have the success that we all want. And then by the time you finish with that one, there's like two young guys. I don't want to leave them. So it's been really kind of a reoccurring theme. Like you see something in young people and you find out that, you have a gift or ability to help them. And that's really what happens. So then it's kind of like a part of my everyday fabric. I lived in the area. It was the closest high school to me. I don't know if I could actually coach at another high school just logistically. So it worked out for me, and I've been there for a long time, and there's been no other DB coaches there. So it's kind of like a pride thing now.
Man, that's awesome. It's awesome, man. But in that vein, that's interesting because then you kind of doubled down on it in training all these excellent and talented defensive backs throughout the year. So how did that get going, and what's kept you, doing that for so long?
I won't out the coach, okay? But anyone that was there at the time, it wasn't Bobby. I'll give you that. But he wasn't big on Indy. He wasn't big on individual drills. I just couldn't understand that. So we would stay after practice. This is probably 2013, 14. We had some kids who I thought were tremendously talented, but they needed work. I believe that hard work works, but you have to continue to build things and continue to work on things. I believe that repetition is a rock that television built this financial empire, and we have to rep these things. So they weren't being repped in team and 7-on-7. We didn't have Indy. He cut out Indy, which was, so it was kind of like I'm going to show you that Indy is beneficial. That's kind of who I am. And a year or two later, we got individual back because I was explaining the extra work that was going in. So a good friend of mine who was training quarterbacks was like, dude, you're not from North Carolina. You should come to South Carolina and help these kids too. And so I started SC DB Group, which, because I didn't understand Twitter, the kids were like, stop texting us, just put it on Twitter. So this is around 2014, 2015. We started having some success. I can accredit Nick McLeod, Mark Fields, those guys in that era. We were going to camps, and I met Nick McLeod's dad. And Nick McLeod now plays for the Chicago Bears. But his dad was like, hey, man, who's working with those kids you brought? And I said, well, I do. He said, well, can you train my son? And I was like, I don't train other people's kids. I just train the kids that go to my high school. So I referred them to Myron Bell.
Oh, yeah.
Back then. Like, he's training DBs. He's got a 7-on-7 going. So it was just one of those things where training kind of grew from me going to South Carolina and helping some of those guys, and a good friend of mine, Ramon Robinson, guilt tripping me into coming to South Carolina. So it just kind of grew from there.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. And you still continue to do it to this day.
Yep.
And what drives you in continuing to do this and continuing to grow, this venture that you have?
I think it's really like a challenge of like the next one. What happens is when people see the finished product, they say, well, that kid's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's because you're seeing the finished product. So like, I hear things. I don't say much. I'm not big on social media. I hear what people say. So I'm really just kind of like doing it to show the naysayers, no, we can help this kid. Everybody can't go to LSU. Everybody can't go to a Power 5 school. But if you work and you kind of understand the young person, find their deficiencies, try to make them comfortable in what they're good at. I think that people don't really understand development is not taking a person from the ceiling, their least skills, and building them. It's really about taking what they're good at and starting there. I can get a kid from a functional place to a higher functioning place versus, starting in the basement and trying to get them to function. So that's really what a secret sauce is. It's really meeting them where they are. You know what I mean? He's good in off man. Let's make him excellent off man. Meanwhile, we'll teach him a little bit of press, and eventually that comes. But I think that developmental piece, it takes patience, it takes hard work, it takes perseverance. And that's kind of what I'm instilling in them. It's not so much about the training, it's about teaching them what to work on. This year, I told the guys that I'm working with, we don't say let's work hard, because that's what everybody's claiming to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't really measure that. What we can measure is intentionality, what we're working on. And so rather than working hard, because oftentimes in the jobs in the real world, people who work the hardest aren't the ones making the most. They're not getting the big benefit, right?
Preach.
So the people that work the most intentional, think about it. In order to be a teacher, you have to intentionally go to college and intentionally pass a test and intentionally get the hours to become a teacher. Meanwhile, there may be people in the building that are physically working harder to keep the school running, but their background didn't show as much intentionality for whatever reason. And I'm not saying that's fair, but I want to make sure that people are working towards being intentionally moving this way, right? And then secondly, I want to put a point of emphasis on like functional movement.
Mm-hmm.
The Most High, whomever you worship, created us to move in a certain way. Well, then we come as football coaches and we try to teach you to move like a football player. In reality, you're more functional being a human. You're better at it. You're a human all day, every day. Well, I hope I've seen some kids that I may think may not be human, but so we're just working to enhance those functional movements so that when you do react, Matt, Pepman, you and I wouldn't move the same. We weren't designed the same. We're designed so then I can't train you like I train the next guy, and I see that a lot.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so that's really where it comes from. It comes from just having an understanding of like the movement of a human. So
good stuff, man. You've had a lot of success as a defensive coordinator, with the Huskies over the years, man. What's kind of led to that? Because like you said, you started out as a DB coach by trade and you grew into that.
Mm-hmm.
What's kind of led to that defensive coordinator success? And can you share any secrets to that success?
Yeah. Well, one is great people. Like there was a time where our defensive staff, I'm the defensive coordinator, but our defensive staff was Jabril Fuel, who was a D-line coach and defensive coordinator once at a couple of high schools. There was Steve Williams. He was also a defensive coordinator. And we had Jamel Byrd. Like, if you really look at the coaches that have been at Hough defensively, I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. So I've never had any kind of a pride thing where I don't want guys that's smarter than me there. And I really went out and sought out coaches who were, at least I saw as my equal, if not better, and find ways to work together for the betterment of the players. We know that we've got one feeder school at Hough. We're not going to get all the great athletes that people think. There's kids that have been sitting right there, waiting their turn, learning, working their butt off for 3 years, waiting to play. And we've been coaching the heck out of them. The second thing is I refuse to have a JV staff. Defensively, I don't want to have a JV staff. I believe in one voice, one vision. Why not me? So my varsity staff, if you coach football at Hough, you're going to coach JV along with me. I think in the however many years I've been there, I've missed one JV game. And I probably coach harder on Thursday night than I do on Friday night. One, they deserve it. Two, it's the cheat code. It's the place where most coaches are too good to do it. I watch all the time, and no disrespect to how people run their program. Every program is different. But I watch when varsity coaches walk in halfway through the game. And I just don't want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of the development of those young men the whole time, all the way through.
That's an excellent point. It's an excellent point, man. And, you think about some of the greatest, coaches overall, they do the same thing the same way. They coach Thursday and Friday nights. Mm-hmm. And, that's I think that's the right way to go about it. In that vein, have you ever desired to be a head coach?
I haven't had the desire to be a head coach. I've had the desire, Pep, to mentor young men. I've had the desire to have fun at their expense sometimes. but truthfully, man, it's just, for me, when you leave the collegiate sports or you've played sports all your life, you have to find a way to kind of figure out what it is that you're going to do with your free time. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's really beneficial for me to be involved in the way that I'm being involved with mentoring them, help challenging them, educating them, working on emotional intelligence with them. We talk about so much football and how much of a football IQ kids have, but the truth is we learn a lot from them, and we can teach them life lessons. But if they don't have emotional intelligence, if we're not talking about their EQ instead of their IQ, they're not gonna make it. So the reality is, it lets me do so many things that is in my wheelhouse. I get to coach ball, and I get to mentor them, and I get to help them understand what we're talking about when we're using these fancy words like emotional intelligence. We really have to kind of make sure that the people that are in contact with our kids are qualified to do so. And sometimes even people are trying to give advice, but they're not showing the same level of emotional intelligence. Anybody that's played football against me, they think that, man, that dude's always on it. But the reality is my kids know why and how I'm doing it. And they feed off of it. They recognize emotional intelligence. They can see that another person is focused on me and not them. So it's something that we talk about a lot as a group. And I think it gives us an advantage in games because people, they're not talking about it. So we use it as a defensive tactic in how we play.
Yeah. That's really good stuff right there, man. You obviously, we talked about what you've done at Huff. We talked about your DB training. Throughout the years, you've coached a lot of talented kids in both ventures. What are you most proud of about those kids and the success you've had?
I think the thing that I'm most proud of is, and I found out about this after the fact, but there's this very, very, very deep, very highly attended group text, okay, that's out there. And I was once a part of the group text. It was all my guys, my college guys, my pro guys. And I was once in that group. And I watched those guys grow up and the conversation changed, okay? And they kicked me out of the group. But to my knowledge, there's kids that are playing now that are still being included in the group. And one day I got a screenshot. There was a player who was in the group text, and I'm talking 60, 70 kids in this text. And the boys found out that he wasn't doing what he was supposed to. And they sent him a message, and it said something to the lines of, you call us your brothers. You're supposed to be doing these things. We're hearing and we're seeing your social media, and you're not doing those things. So you're not allowed to be in this group text. And so to me, what I'm proud of is we've created a network of successful young men that are mentoring each other, and they're doing the same things. Obviously, the group has grown where I was very much hands-on all the time with about 12 guys. Now it's north of 200 kids that have played or are currently playing college football that played defensive back, and they got that in common. And they got the SCDB group or the Carolina Grind or EP Elite Position Training or Huff in common. And we've made networks and contacts for those young men, pretty much across the United States. So that's probably what I'm most, because I never set out to do that, but that's probably what I'm most proud of.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And put them back in the group text, y'all. I mean, come on, man.
No. I don't want to be back. They got money now.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. There was something you really wanted to talk about here, and it's in relation to communication with coaches among, kind of the Charlotte metro area and promoting kids and things of that nature. Let's go ahead and talk about what you really want to get out here about that specifically.
Yeah, I think that there's a sentiment here that I've recognized where when a young person's having success, say he goes to school A, and there's another really good player that goes to school B. Well, I don't think that you have success promoting the player from school B by bashing or talking negative on player A. I think that, the sentiment has to be around. And if you go to like Florida or you go to Georgia, they've already got this understood. They work together to get all those guys that are deserving to the best or the most appropriate place. And these schools are going about recruiting, getting their kids to the next level on their own. And the reality is by marketing other people's kids and telling coaches, hey, this is where you can find really good players. That's how you drive recruiting to your school. You drive recruiting to your school by promoting other players. So now they'll say, man, let me call Chachi so that I can find out where the players are in Charlotte. See, I couldn't have success with getting kids at Hough to school if Mallard Creek wasn't having successful players and really good players. Because I'm saying, hey, you better want to stop over there at Mallard Creek and check this kid out. Or you might want to stop over at East Meck and check this kid out. Like, when I see kids, it's my duty as a football coach to tell college coaches about this kid. I don't know about his academics. I just know he can ball, right? And so I can tell them that the kid is 6'2", 6'3". I don't have to bash my kids. I got players too. But I want to make sure that they know that where all the players are. So then in return, when they're looking for a diamond in the rough, guess who they call? And that could be the same for all the schools if they were taking the time to promote their kids as well as other people's kids, because that's the way it should work in Charlotte. We should not like each other once or twice a year. Reality is we're doing the same thing. I think that most of the coaches are genuinely good guys. and I don't think that the strategy for marketing kids has been maximized, and I think that's an opportunity for us.
Yeah, well, if there's anything I can do to help with that, I'd be glad, because, that's one of the main reasons why, CFI exists, is to promote kids and try to get them, to play college football. So I think that's a great message.
Yeah. And the last thing is, once you do a good job of marketing the kid and the coach is not saying the same thing, then that's where the piggyback should be. That's where the bottleneck, so to speak, is. You're marketing the kid and the coach isn't, and the coach at school A, B, and C isn't, because they're marketing, they're so focused on theirs, they're missing the opportunity. And that's exactly what I mean.
Absolutely. Good stuff, man. For anyone watching this, parents, players, etc., I'm sure there'll be some players who are interested in wanting to train with you. How do players reach out and to you and try to get set up for training?
I try to hide in plain sight. I know this is probably crazy, but I don't advertise my training sessions. I think that I don't. I think that like-minded people find one another. I do have Instagram, SC_DB group, Twitter, it's same. But the reality is, I want people to come to me through people that's came to me, and that's it. I mean, if you don't know anybody that I train with, chances are you're probably not very serious about it. So I'm not for everybody. I don't need like all superstar athletes. I need people who are serious about getting better. And if you're serious about getting better, then you can come. You know what I mean? And you SC_DB group, you can shoot me a DM. But the reality is, if you don't know someone that I'm currently training or have trained, and you can't get in contact with me in Charlotte, then you're not working hard enough resource-wise. You're probably not the person that needs to be with me. There's other really good DB trainers out here that I know very well. I can point you in that direction.
Well said. Yeah. For all of us out here that, do different things within the high school football world, it takes a village. And I know there are some people that you would want to thank for all the success you've had throughout the years. Who are some of those people?
Well, I think mentor-wise, man, it's so many. Nobody probably knows this. He'll probably talk trash, but like Chris Rump, who's always kind of, is not a coach. He's coaching at Clemson now, but he's not someone that I talk to daily. But he is somebody I talk to when I'm going through something, I'm having a tough time. The man always has like the right thing to say. He can talk to me in a way that most men probably can't. My family, it's a lot of sacrifice, time away from them to do some of the stuff that I'm doing, as far as when I traveled a lot more. And then the head coaches like Matt Jenkins, who's always been great, Miles Aldridge. I'm not going to thank Bobby Collins because I'll be seeing him soon. But Sean Baker, the administration at Hough, just a lot of people that's been supportive of me. There's a Hough Dad Committee that's been super supportive of me, even when I'm their kids long gone. So just the city of Charlotte. I mean, really and truly, like I've been treated like I'm from here, and I'm not. So I appreciate all those people that are involved in that.
All right, good stuff, man. As you said, you guys are going to be playing South Point out of Rock Hill and Bobby Collins, down at Bank of America Stadium coming up first week of the season. I want to wish you the best of luck on that, man.
Don't need it.
Understood. And thank you, for your time. I think this was great, and it's well deserved. It's well deserved. You've done a lot of great things, not only at Hough, but for a lot of special, talented defensive backs throughout North and South Carolina. So kudos, and keep up the good work.